Welcome all the new members. So nice to have you here. I'm Dr. Alison McLean. I'm a physical therapist, yoga therapist, and coach. So today we're going to talk about sciatica. And the reason is because I see in so many yoga communities, so many yoga groups, in yoga classes, people are just getting it wrong. They're making the problem worse, right? You can find it on YouTube and all the things not to do. So let's clear up some confusion. So if you have sciatica yourself, you can help yourself better, and so you can help your students better. All right, so comment below. Do you work with students with sciatica? Do you work with clients, patients with sciatica? Do you work in the body or in that manner? Or what's your niche? Let me know. So specifically, sciatica, we'll talk with the spine, right? So if we have a blown up picture of the lumbar spine here, at each level we have our discs. In between the vertebrae, our discs, and then coming out of the discs are nerves, right? And so two of those nerves actually travel out of the spine, go down the back of the hip, all the way down the back of the leg to the foot, and that is the sciatic nerve. It's actually a combination of two nerves. So sciatica is actually what's happening. Somewhere along the path of both nerves, or where it joins together as one or then splits again, it's getting compressed, and that's leading to a whole host of symptoms. That's the what, right? You have to figure out to really know what to do with your students, how to sequence a class, how to sequence a private session. You have to know why. So one of my biggest pet peeves as a yoga teacher is when a student comes to me after class, have you had this before, and say, what's the best stretch for sciatica? I don't know, because I need to do an evaluation. So that's what makes it really hard when you're sequencing a class, because you're teaching a group of people. So truthfully, the best thing to do is to keep it in neutral, not do too many forward bends, not to do too many back bends, because depending on where the nerve is getting compressed, whether it be right at the nerve root in the spine, maybe there's a disc bulge, so there's a couple things going on, a bulge and sciatica, or if it's due to excessive stenosis or lack of space in the spine, back bending can make it worse for other people, right? So I see quite oftenly in yoga groups, oh, just do pigeon, just do the figure four stretch. For some people, myself included, I have a history of sciatica. Figure four, pigeon pose, forward bending, even Supta Padangusthasana, the head to knee pose with the strap when you lie on your back on the ground, all those made it worse. For other people, it might make it better. So if you're in a one-to-one private session, the best thing you can do is do an evaluation. Look at their posture, look how they're moving. If you don't have training as a yoga therapist, then work in a team with a physical therapist or a mentor. That's what I really help a lot of teachers with, is knowing how to assess from a yoga standpoint what movement postures to assess to figure out what's weak, what's strong, why is there this spacious issue, why is the nerve getting compressed in the first place. If you're teaching a class, it's educating your students through cueing that they should not feel anything in their hip or any sciatic type sensations or stretches during yoga asana. And this is usually a huge thing, because often a student will be doing the figure four, the thread the needle position, where you lie on your back and cross the ankle over the thigh, and they're like, oh, this is such a great stretch, it feels like this. And then I ask them, well, what does your sciatic pain feel like? And they're like, well, it feels like that stretch. So that means when they're stretching it, and if they're doing it 2 to 3 times a day or in your yoga class, they're actually irritating the nerve and making the problem worse. And that's like usually a huge light bulb. And I'm like, well, we need to back that off. And they're saying, well, now I'm doing the stretch and I don't feel much of anything. And I say, great, because you need to re-educate the brain, the nervous system on how to move without pain. And so often it's taking a bunch of steps backward, feeling very little sensation or none at all. So then the student can go forward and practice more vigorous type postures and pigeon pose if that's where they want to go in the future. That's how where my practice is now. My sciatic pain and disc issue was about a decade ago, and it took a year and a half to heal. So that's a year and a half of modifying my yoga. I was able to go to classes, but I didn't do all of the things, really listening to my body, working on alignment, working on strength, working on my nervous system. It's a multi-layered approach. If you want more details on this, head to the podcast. I tell a lot about my story. You'll hear I really specialize in working with yoga students and patients with sciatica and disc problems. So you hear the stories of a lot of people that I've worked with and how I've helped them, not just by giving them a core exercise, not by just telling them to do pigeon pose at home. That's not going to solve the problem for good. It's not going to get to the root source of the issue. You really have to figure out why the sciatica is happening in the first place and make sure that your student's not irritating the sciatica in your class or at home. Other resources. I have a whole workshop on sciatica. It's 2 hours long. It's only $45. You'll get your money's back and so much more. You'll learn so much about your own body and how to help your students better. It's a 2-hour workshop. I'll put the link in the comments and you can purchase that, and you'll learn a lot more about theory and anatomy behind sciatica, as well as there's an hour practice. So you can use asana in the practice to bring to your classes, to work with your students. So you can get signed up with that very easily right now. If you sign up right now, you'll get the workshop right now, and by tonight, before you go to sleep, you'll have a whole bunch of tools to your arsenal. If you want to go further than that, there's also the Radiant Being Yoga Teacher Training, where we work with all the different layers, the 5 kosha layers. We work with the whole entire body on healing. You'll get so many tools to make sure that your students feel better, get the results that they want in your classes and in private sessions. This is also great if you're a healthcare provider and you're wishing to incorporate more yoga into your practice. So I guarantee you're gonna see stretches and uses of props and even the yoga wall. You don't have to have a yoga wall though, that you have not seen before in any other physical therapy training. It's a lot from the yoga world, but then I apply physical therapy knowledge, biomechanics behind it. So a ton of information in that program as well. And if you're not sure what's the best fit for you right now, then you can always sign up for a strategy call. I'm here to point you in the right direction, or at least get a plan going so you know the next best step for you. So if you're watching on the replay and you have a specific question about sciatica, or you have a specific student with a sciatic issue and you're having trouble helping them, then comment below, let me know, or DM me. I'm happy to help you. I work much better when there's some interaction going and I have specific questions. Right now, this information is pretty general, but regardless, it's figuring out why the sciatica is occurring. And if you're teaching a group of people, then keeping the class somewhat neutral, or cueing your students, letting them know that they should not feel any sciatic issues while they're practicing with you. And it's all about getting space off the nerve, getting flexibility, and also releasing the tissue. So myofascial release is often helpful, and then strengthening, right? Strengthening core, not just the abdominals. True core is also the back body. So getting the synergistic action of the core to help support the spine, to take pressure off the nerve and the disc if that's involved as well. So again, multi-layered approach, and then what I love the most about working with yoga with sciatica is how seamless you can incorporate the nervous system into this work, because often I find for a lot of my patients, and especially now with so much going on with the pandemic, this new variant poking its head, and people are getting stressed out and worried again, or having to recover from sickness, how much the nervous system is involved with sciatica. And a lot of the tightness that your students might be feeling might not actually be muscle at all. It might be neural tension, and it might be, which might stem from sticky fascia, but it also might just stem from being stressed out, overwhelmed, and carrying that burden day after day. In fact, most of the students that I work with really benefit from a yoga nidra type practice or restorative type practice, yet they probably hate it. They don't want to do it. They have a to-do list a mile long, but that, my friends, is where the true work lies, is getting them to slow down a bit, release that underlying grippiness and tension, and that really helps to take a ton of pressure off the nerves. So let me know, what do you see with your students in sciatica? Do you teach healthy back type yoga classes, therapeutic type yoga classes, or do you teach vigorous flow type classes, Ashtanga type classes, and are you getting students coming to your classes with sciatica? The good thing is, I know doctors these days, when they have their patients come in with sciatica, are recommending yoga. So they know the benefit of yoga. The problem is the student might not pick the right type of class for what's going on in their body for that moment. Not to say that flow classes are bad. Not to say that vinyasa classes are bad, right? There's the right class for the right time for the person, whatever's going on in their body or their health. So let me know, what do you see? I'd love to hear it. Okay, so that's it for today. To dive deeper into sciatica, a whole ton of ways that I can help you with specifics. With the practice is a low-cost workshop. Oh, it looks like I put the psoas workshop there. I'll change that. I'll go put the sciatic workshop. Psoas is beneficial too, though. Or you can sign up for a free strategy call, and I'll help you out with the right program that's the right fit for you. My goal also is to put in some handouts in this program, but I don't want to create busyness with just like files and downloads. I want to create useful information that will actually be helpful and applicable for you. So I'd love to hear from you what you find helpful. Is it short little videos with 1 to 2 takeaways that you can just grab and implement and start using with your students right away? Or do you actually like to have documents to read over at a later time? Let me know how I can serve you best. You can DM me, you can drop it in the comments, and we'll go forward alternating really between anatomy, biomechanics, physiology. You know, I love to talk about all that stuff, yoga principles, asana, types of practice, as well as business tactics, because truthfully, you can have all the knowledge of how to design your classes, do the sequencing in private and group classes, but if you don't know how to market, if you don't know how to sell, if you don't know how to structure your business, then you won't have any people to take advantage of all your knowledge, right? And you won't have any revenue coming into the bank. So business tactics are super important as well, and we'll be covering them here. Welcome to all the new members. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.